You're walking slowly down a cobbled street. The morning mist clings to the rough stone buildings around you, their ancient walls still holding the weight of centuries. The air is cool, and there's a faint smell of damp wood and earth. The breeze rustles through the leaves of the tall trees that line the road, their branches twisted like old fingers reaching out in search of something lost. It's quiet, eerily quiet. You pause and listen. The chirping of birds is distant, muffled by the thick fog that hovers in the air, as though the world itself is taking a deep breath, waiting for something to happen. The occasional creak of a wooden sign swinging in the breeze is the only sound that breaks the silence, and for a moment, you might think you're the only one left in the world, but you're not. The street is alive with a subtle hum of medieval life. Not the grand battles or the royal banquets you read about in history books, but the everyday life of ordinary people, blacksmiths hammering at anvils, women sweeping dust from their doorsteps, children chasing each other down the road. It's a strange world, one that feels both familiar and impossibly distant. And while you might not believe it, you're about to step into the life of someone who once lived here. And by the end of tonight, you'll have learned something most people would never expect, something about medieval knights and their pet hedgehogs. Yes, you heard that right. Pet hedgehogs. Now, before you settle in too comfortably, let me just warn you, this journey will be full of unexpected twists. You probably won't make it through the day without a little chuckle at how absurdly charming history can be, but that's okay. We're here to relax, so let's ease into tonight's journey and take a leisurely stroll through a time that feels both like a dream and a very strange, very long reality. Take a deep breath. Let's begin. As the town square comes into view, you spot a knight, but not the kind you're used to seeing in the pages of legends or through the lens of Hollywood. This one looks a little, different. His armor is worn, not gleaming, and there's a certain disheveled look about him. He's sitting on a stone bench, his helmet resting beside him. There's a hedgehog curled up at his feet, sniffing the ground with the kind of indifference that only a small, spiky creature can have. You're surprised by this. Why on earth would a knight, of all people, have a pet hedgehog? They're supposed to be slaying dragons or rescuing damsels, right? But no, this knight is doing neither. He's just sitting there, letting the cool breeze ruffle his cloak, while his pet shuffles about aimlessly. But believe it or not, there's more to this odd scene than you might think. In fact, there's a whole history behind it. The thing is, medieval knights, despite their lofty titles and grand deeds, had a surprising affection for certain pets. And no, not just the fancy dogs you might expect. Some knights, yes, even those with big, intimidating armor and sharp swords kept hedgehogs. Historians still debate the reasons behind this unusual pet choice. Some say it was a symbol of their wealth. Others argue that hedgehogs were considered good luck or a reminder of nature's simplicity. Whatever the case, the knight's pet seems perfectly content, oblivious to the surrounding hustle of medieval life. He's a small, unremarkable creature in this grand and tumultuous world, yet his role in it is far more fascinating than you might first imagine. You can almost hear the knight chuckling to himself, thinking about the absurdity of it all. His life, his armor, his battles, and now, here he is, sitting with a tiny spiny ball of joy at his feet. Perhaps he finds comfort in the simplicity of the hedgehog's existence. After all, in a world that's constantly shifting, what could be more reassuring than a creature that curls up in the face of danger? As the knight rises and starts walking, the hedgehog follows him, waddling behind like a loyal companion. You watch them for a moment before you continue your stroll, your thoughts drifting with the breeze. What other bizarre little corners of history could there be? Maybe more than you'd think. Remember the street you walked past earlier? It's back now, but the day has changed, and you've learned something you never expected. You might not be sure whether to laugh or be impressed, but one thing's for certain: medieval history has a strange, quiet charm, full of unexpected surprises. As you make your way through the winding streets, you begin to notice the subtle changes in the air. It's the afternoon now, and while the sun struggles to break through the thick fog, there's a certain warmth to it that wasn't there before. The shadows seem to stretch longer, and the sounds of the town seem to carry more weight, as though the earth itself is tired of holding up centuries of history. You pass a small, humble chapel, its wooden doors slightly ajar. Inside, the flickering light of a few candles casts dancing shadows on the stone walls, the smell of incense hanging in the air. It's the kind of place that feels timeless, existing outside of the usual flow of history. People come here, pray, hear, and go about their lives, all while the world outside continues to turn. But the life of a knight is far from peaceful. As you step deeper into this medieval world, you begin to understand the immense pressure they were under. Despite the glamour of their titles, knights were often torn between loyalty to their king, their duty to their land, and the strange, quiet moments that made them human. Take, for example, the odd fact that many knights were known to spend time in nature, cultivating a deep connection with animals. It wasn't just a hobby, it was a way to ground themselves amidst the chaos of battle. The hedgehog, in this case, wasn't just a quirky pet. It was a small, wild companion that reminded the knight of the world beyond the battlefield. It's strange, isn't it? How something so small could hold such significance. A tiny, prickly creature rolling up in defense against a world full of violence, yet finding a kind of peace in the midst of it. Knights, with their heavy armor and even heavier responsibilities, needed moments like this. Sure, they could wield swords and defend castles, but when the world became too loud, they would retreat into nature, finding comfort in small, simple creatures. And sometimes those creatures were hedgehogs. Historians like to debate what the hedgehog represented. Was it just an oddity of the times? Or was there something deeper, something about the way these knights saw themselves and the role of animals in their lives? Were they looking for a way to reconnect with something pure, something unaffected by the bloodshed and politics that surrounded them? Whatever the case, it's clear that these medieval warriors had more going on than what we usually see in the pages of history. A knight with a pet hedgehog might not seem like much, but it's a little window into a world that was far more complex and far more human than we might have ever realized. As you pause at the edge of the town, watching the last of the sunlight fade from the sky, you can't help but smile at the absurdity of it all. Medieval knights, tough as nails on the outside, yet finding solace in something as simple as a hedgehog. And while the history books may tell you about the grand battles and heroic deeds, it's these little moments, the ones that don't fit neatly into a textbook, that make the past feel so real, so tangible. As you continue your walk, the sounds of the town fading behind you, you carry with you the memory of a time when even the fiercest warriors had their quiet, unassuming companions. And who knows? Perhaps if you look closely enough, you might just spot a hedgehog or two curled up somewhere, offering their own little bit of peace in the chaos of the world. You might even smile at the thought of it. After all, history has a funny way of surprising you, doesn't it? The evening has settled in now, and the world seems softer, quieter. The shadows stretch across the cobblestones as you continue your journey, your steps slow and steady. A warm light spills from the open doorways of taverns and homes, casting flickers of golden glow onto the wet stones. The air smells faintly of roasting meat and freshly baked bread, and for a moment, it's easy to forget that this is the past, that this world you're walking through is centuries away from your own. As you wander deeper into the town, you catch sight of a group of children playing in the street. They're not concerned with the grand politics of kings or the endless wars between rival factions. They're simply enjoying the freedom of youth. A couple of them are chasing a stray dog, while others are gathered around a small stone fountain, dipping their hands in the cool water. It's a moment of innocent simplicity, the kind of thing that would have been entirely familiar to the children of medieval Europe. And speaking of simple pleasures, you hear the soft rustling of leaves as a breeze passes through the trees lining the road, carrying with it the scent of pine and wet earth. The wind feels like a reminder, a gentle nudge that in this era, even knights and royalty could find moments of respite amidst the chaos of their lives. But as you pass through the market square, you can't help but be drawn to a peculiar sight. A man in a long, tattered cloak, hunched over a small stall. He's offering something unusual, something you wouldn't expect to see in a marketplace. It's a small wooden cage with tiny, delicate hedgehogs inside, curled up into little balls, their spines shining in the flickering lantern light. The sight makes you smile. It's funny, isn't it? How something so small and unassuming could have such an impact on the world around it. A pet hedgehog might seem insignificant to us now, but to a medieval knight, it was a symbol of something more, something deeply personal and calming in the face of an unpredictable world. You wonder, for a moment, if these hedgehogs were meant for the knights who live nearby. Perhaps they were a source of comfort, or maybe just a reminder that no matter how chaotic life got, there was always room for a little bit of peace. In an era of war and political turmoil, the simple act of caring for a small, spiny animal might have been the closest thing to true tranquility. In fact, many knights found solace in the company of animals during their off hours, not just because they were companions, but because animals offered something that people couldn't: unconditional loyalty, no questions asked. The bond between a knight and his hedgehog might not have been something you'd find in the history books, but it was just as real as the sword he carried into battle. Historians still debate whether this fondness for animals was truly about comfort, or whether it was a way for knights to prove their gentleness and compassion in an otherwise brutal world. One thing's for sure, these hedgehogs were no mere pets. They were something more, but let's step away from the hedgehogs for a moment and look at the knight himself. What did this peculiar knight look like, anyway? Not the bold, shining warrior we might imagine, but someone far more grounded. His armor, though functional, was old. His cloak, though noble, was worn. And his face? Well, his face was weathered by years of war, but it softened whenever he spoke of his hedgehog. You see, while knights often had their fair share of grandiose titles and moments of glory, many of them were also people, real, living people with quirks and idiosyncrasies. And one of those quirks, in this case, was an affection for hedgehogs. It's strange to think about, but it's true. These knights, who were trained to fight with swords and defend castles, could also be found in the quiet corners of their estates, tending to their hedgehogs. What did that say about them? Was it a sign of weakness? Or perhaps it was a reminder that even the strongest warriors needed moments of quiet connection with something outside themselves. Historians still aren't sure. Some argue that the knight's bond with his hedgehog was simply a way to escape the pressure of his duties. Others believe it was a symbol of humility, a reminder that no matter how high a knight's rank might be, he was still human, still in need of moments of solace. You wonder what it was like for these knights. Did they truly find peace in the company of a tiny, prickly creature? Or was it just a way to ease the tension of a world that didn't allow for many soft moments? Either way, it's a peculiar image, one that you won't soon forget. The knight, the hedgehog, and the strange, quiet bond they shared. As you continue your walk, the last traces of daylight begin to fade, and the street lamps flicker to life. The world feels a little softer now, the day's bustle quieting down. It's a moment of transition, and as you pass by the small chapel again, you can't help but feel a sense of peace. The knight's hedgehog might seem out of place in this grand history, but maybe that's exactly why it's so fascinating. Strangest things often turn out to be the most telling parts of history. And sometimes it's the smallest details, the tiny, unremarkable creatures that give us the clearest picture of what life was really like out as the night deepens. The world outside seems to slow even further. The streets are quieter now, and the once bustling town square has emptied, leaving only the distant hum of crickets and the soft swish of a nearby river. The air has taken on a slightly chillier edge, but it's nothing you can't handle. You pull your cloak a little tighter around you, the soft fabric brushing against your skin, and continue down the street. It's funny how a single day can stretch on like this, with the hours slowly slipping by in a haze of quiet moments. And yet there's something oddly soothing about it, isn't there? How time seems to stop for a moment, allowing you to just be, to walk, to think, to listen to the soft sounds of the world around you. The town is peaceful tonight, but even in its calm, it carries the weight of centuries. The stone buildings loom around you, their walls holding stories that are far older than the ground you walk on. You can almost feel the history beneath your feet, as if the cobblestones themselves have witnessed countless events, both grand and trivial. And in this moment, it's easy to forget that the past was full of chaos and conflict. After all, history isn't just about the famous battles or the royal feasts. It's also about the small, everyday moments, the quiet acts of rebellion, the personal struggles, the simple joys. It's about the people who lived and loved and fought, even when no one was watching. As you make your way toward the edge of the town, the distant lights of a nearby castle flicker on the horizon. It seems impossibly far away, like something from a dream. The contrast between the warm glow of the castle and the cold, quiet streets around you feels oddly comforting, like a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there's always light. Somewhere. It's here, on the edge of the town, that you begin to think about the knights once again. The ones who lived and fought here. The ones who walked the same streets, who heard the same sounds, and who, on rare occasions, found comfort in the company of a hedgehog. What was their life like, really? Was it all just armor and battles? Or was there more to it? Was it moments like these, when they found peace in the simple things that made their lives worth living? You can't help but wonder. And as you pause for a moment, taking in the quiet beauty of the night, you realize that you've been walking through history all along. It's not just the big events that define the past, it's the little things. The small, hidden details. The hedgehogs, the knights, the moments of peace. And in the end, maybe that's what makes history so captivating. The way it lingers quietly in the background, waiting to surprise you with something unexpected. Something as simple as a knight and his pet hedgehog. As you stand there, letting the cool night air wash over you, you feel a sense of contentment settle in your chest. History may have been chaotic, but tonight, it feels like it's finally at peace. The wind has picked up a little now, just enough to rustle the leaves in the trees as you walk. It's no longer the gentle breeze from earlier, but something a bit more assertive, carrying with it the sounds of the distant town, a murmur of life that never quite disappears. The world feels alive in a different way now, as though the night itself has its own rhythm, its own pulse. You move through the streets like a shadow, your footsteps soft and purposeful, like a visitor from another time. The houses and shops that line the road earlier now seem quieter, their windows dark, save for the occasional flicker of candlelight from inside. There's an eerie peace to the town at night, quiet, still, but brimming with untold stories, waiting to be uncovered. It feels like you could reach out and touch the past, like you could slip into it as easily as slipping between the pages of a forgotten book. As you continue, the path leads you past the edge of town, where the familiar sounds of village life give way to the wide open spaces beyond. The land here feels wild, untamed, and yet you feel strangely comforted by it. The rustle of wind in the tall grass, the occasional hoot of an owl, these sounds seem like whispers from another world. Another time, you pause for a moment and take it all in. The town behind you, the open fields ahead, the cool night air surrounding you like a soft blanket. And then, in the distance, you spot a figure. A knight standing still in the moonlight, his silhouette framed by the pale light of the rising moon. There's something serene about this knight. He's not the warrior you might expect, ready to ride off into battle. Instead, he's standing alone, his helmet removed, his armor reflecting the moonlight in a soft, almost ethereal glow. And at his feet, his hedgehog, of course. The little creature is there, nestled in the grass, as though it has always belonged here in this quiet world of moonlight and silence. For a moment, the scene feels like a dream, a quiet moment in the life of a knight who, for all his grand deeds and battles, has found something truly rare: peace. The hedgehog once again sits at his feet, its tiny, unassuming presence a reminder of simpler times, of quieter moments in a world that is rarely still. You wonder, once again, what it was about these hedgehogs that appealed to knights. Was it simply the quiet companionship they offered? Or was there something deeper, something more symbolic about these small creatures who lived quietly with no grand ambitions, no desire for fame or glory? Perhaps that was the point. In a world filled with noise and violence, the hedgehog was a reminder that peace could still be found in the smallest of creatures, in the smallest of moments. Historians still speculate on the role of animals in medieval life, especially in the lives of the nobility. Some argue that animals like hedgehogs were seen as symbols of balanced small creatures who lived humbly, yet carried with them a certain kind of strength in their simplicity. Others suggest that animals served as a way for knights to connect with the natural world, offering a brief respite from the brutal demands of their daily lives. Regardless of the reasoning, it's clear that the bond between a knight and his hedgehog was not just a quirky historical oddity. It was a sign of something deeper, a reflection of the complex, multifaceted nature of medieval life. As the knight stands there, gazing out at the horizon, you can't help but feel a sense of peace settle over you as well. The world feels still, suspended in time, as though you too have stepped into a moment of quiet reflection. You look back at the town behind you, at the warm glow of the streetlights, and think of all the people who once walked these streets, living their lives, finding their own quiet moments of peace. There were knights, yes, but there were also blacksmiths, farmers, merchants, people who lived in the same world, yet had their own stories to tell. And in their small, everyday moments, there was as much beauty as in the grand battles of history. It's a humbling thought. The past, with all its noise and chaos, wasn't made up of just knights and kings. It was made up of people like you and me, searching for meaning in the quiet moments of life. You take a deep breath, the cool air filling your lungs, and as you exhale, you realize that the knight's quiet companionship with his hedgehog is a part of something much larger. It's a part of history hidden away in the small corners, in the simple acts that may not seem important at first glance. And yet, they are. The knight turns and begins to walk back toward the town, his hedgehog still at his feet, his movements slow, deliberate, as if savoring the moment. You follow at a distance, your mind lingering on the strange beauty of it all. You can't help but feel a little lighter as you walk back into the heart of the town, the last traces of daylight fading into the night. The world feels smaller, now more intimate, as though history itself has wrapped itself around you like a warm blanket. By the time you reach the center of town again, The moon has fully risen, casting everything in a soft, silvery glow. The buildings look even older under the light, their stone facades almost glowing with history. The streets are deserted now, save for a few stray dogs wandering through the alleys and the occasional flicker of candlelight from within the windows of the houses. The knight, with his hedgehog still by his side, disappears into the shadows of the street, his presence like a fading echo of the past. You stop for a moment, watching the moon reflect off the wet cobblestones, your mind still filled with images of the knight and his curious pet. The night feels heavier now, but in a comforting way, as though the world has slowed to a pace where it's easier to breathe, easier to think. You can't help but smile at the absurdity of it all, the idea of a medieval knight, a figure of power and strength, finding solace in a small, spiny creature. But maybe that's the point, isn't it? History isn't always about grand gestures and sweeping battles. Sometimes it's about the quiet moments. The moments when the world seems to pause, and you're left with nothing but the stillness of the night, the soft rustle of leaves in the wind, and the quiet companionship of a hedgehog. Historians still debate whether this affection for hedgehogs was a reflection of knights' inner lives or simply a passing trend. But whatever the case, it's clear that these little creatures played a role in the daily lives of knights. They weren't just pets, they were companions, symbols of peace, in a world that was often anything but peaceful. And in that, there's a certain beauty dot as you stand there. Listening to the quiet hum of the night, you feel a strange sense of connection to the past. The night, the hedgehog, the town, these are all pieces of a world long gone, yet they still feel close, almost tangible. It's a reminder that history is more than just names and dates. It's the small things, the little moments that bring it to life. And so, as the night stretches on, you take one last look at the town, the moon casting its light over everything. The knight, his armor, and his hedgehog are gone, but the story remains, a quiet story full of unexpected moments. A story that might just stay with you long after you leave this place. The wind has died down a little, leaving behind a stillness that blankets the town. The moon hangs high above, casting long shadows across the cobbled streets. It's almost as if the world is holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. But nothing does. The night continues on, slow and steady, with only the occasional rustle of a distant tree or the soft murmur of a night animal to break the silence. You continue walking, your steps slower now, as if the night itself is urging you to move at a different pace, one that's more attuned to the subtle rhythms of this world. The streets are quieter now, almost empty, as the townspeople retire for the evening. The faint sound of distant music and laughter drifts in from the open windows of the tavern, but it feels distant, disconnected from the world you're walking. Through Dot ahead of you, you see the faint outline of the night once more. This time, he's walking alone, his helmet under one arm. The hedgehog is nowhere to be seen, and for a moment, you wonder if he's left it behind. But no, there it is, a tiny creature, moving at his feet, barely noticeable, but still there. A quiet presence. Dot, it strikes you then. The bond between this knight and his hedgehog is not simply a matter of ownership or companionship. It's a ritual, something that has taken root in the fabric of his life, as natural to him as breathing. It's as though the hedgehog is a piece of him, something that provides a strange, grounding force in a world that is often too chaotic to make sense of. Historians have long debated the role of animals in the lives of medieval knights, but one thing remains clear. Animals, whether dogs, horses, or even hedgehogs, were never just pets. They were symbols. Symbols of loyalty, protection, and sometimes even humility. In a world where honor was everything, the bond between a knight and his pet might have said more about his character than any battle he fought or any king he served. You pause for a moment, watching the knight walk away, his hedgehog following. Closely behind, you can't help but think about how much of history has been shaped by these quiet, personal moments, the ones that aren't recorded in the annals of war or politics, but are just as significant. Maybe it's these moments, these small, seemingly insignificant acts that give history its texture, its depth. They're the threads that tie everything together. The night disappears into the shadows, and for a moment, you're left standing. In the stillness, a sense of calm washing over you. The night seems deeper now, more profound. You wonder if the knight, walking into the darkness with his little hedgehog, ever truly understood the power of such quiet moments. Perhaps he did, in his own way. As you continue your journey, the streets grow quieter, the world more subdued. But there's a sense of peace in it, a reminder that sometimes the most important moments in life aren't the loudest or the most dramatic. They're the ones that happen in the silence, when no one is watching. The night feels older now. The town settled into its quiet rhythm. The streets you walk down seem different, somehow less like a place where people live and more like a stage where history is unfolding. The cobblestones beneath your feet are worn, smoothed by centuries of footsteps, some light and fleeting, others heavy with purpose. The buildings loom over you, ancient and silent, like silent witnesses to the centuries of lives lived within their walls. Ahead of you, you spot the flickering light of a candle through a small window. The faint scent of herbs and wood smoke drifts out into the street, and for a moment, you find yourself wondering what it would have been like to live here in this time. Not as a knight, but as one of the ordinary people. A farmer, a merchant, a blacksmith. Someone who lived and worked in the same world, but without the grandeur and spectacle of war and politics. You pause at the window, gazing inside. It's a simple scene: an elderly woman sitting by the fire, carefully stitching a piece of cloth. She hums softly to herself, her movements slow but deliberate, as though she's lost in the rhythm of her own thoughts. There's something peaceful about the scene, something that feels like the very essence of life in medieval Europe. Simple, quiet, grounded. You wonder for a moment if this woman ever crossed paths with knights like the one you've been following. Perhaps she too saw them, walking through the streets with their armor and their swords, their lives defined by duty and honor. But in the end, perhaps they were all just people, struggling to make sense of a world that was constantly shifting. Beneath their feet, it's strange to think about how much history is shaped by the lives of ordinary people. Historians often focus on the grand moments, the famous battles, the kings and queens who ruled from their thrones. But the truth is, it's the small moments like the one you're witnessing right now that are just as important. The ones where nothing of note happens, but everything is still significant. And speaking of small moments, you suddenly remember the knight and his hedgehog. The image of them walking together, alone in the quiet night, stays with you. It's a peculiar but endearing scene. A knight meant for battle and glory, finding peace in the company of a tiny, unassuming creature. It makes you smile. It's a reminder that even in a world filled with chaos, there's always room for quiet. Simple moments. As you continue walking, the town seems to close in around you. The streets grow narrower, the houses taller, and the air feels heavier. It's as if the town itself is a living, breathing entity, and you're just a visitor passing through its ancient halls. You wonder if the people who lived here ever felt the weight of the past pressing down on them, as you do now. Or perhaps they just went about their days, unaware of the significance of the moments they were living. The knight and his hedgehog are long gone, but the memory of them lingers. It's a quiet kind of history, one that doesn't shout for attention, but still manages to leave an impression. It's a reminder that even in the grandest of eras, the smallest of things can hold the most meaning. And so you walk on, the night stretching ahead of you like an endless horizon. The sounds of the town fade into the distance, replaced by the soft whispers of the wind and the rustle of leaves. The world is quiet now, and as you move through it, you can't help but feel a sense of connection to everything around you. The past, the present, and the future, it all blends together in these quiet moments. These small, significant acts. It's funny, isn't it? How something as simple as a knight and his hedgehog can leave such a lasting impression. The town has grown even quieter as you move further into the night. The last of the night's chill hangs in the air, a cool reminder that the seasons have already begun to shift. As you walk through the now solemn streets, a sense of nostalgia washes over you, even though you've only just arrived in this strange medieval world. The lanterns flicker in the distance, casting a soft amber glow over the cobblestones, their light reflecting off the damp pavement, creating delicate pools of warmth in the otherwise cool, still night. You find yourself wandering again, as if the town is drawing you deeper into its embrace, leading you through winding alleys and around forgotten corners. The only sound is the gentle echo of your footsteps and the occasional creak of the wooden signs swinging in the breeze. It feels like time has slowed down here, each minute stretching on longer than it should. The town seems frozen, suspended, between the past and the present, as if it's waiting for something, but it's not sure what. Ahead, you spot another knight. This one is different, though. He's standing by the door of a humble tavern, the soft light spilling out from within. He's talking to a group of townspeople, his broad shoulders hunched as he leans in close to listen. The hedgehog, however, is nowhere to be seen. Instead, the knight is holding a mug of ale in one hand. His armor is still in place, but slightly more relaxed than you might expect. His helmet rests on the ground beside him, the spiked metal glinting faintly in the lamplight. He doesn't look like the hero from the stories. In fact, he seems a bit out of place here, more at home with these people than with any real court or battlefield. You pause in the shadows, watching for a moment. The conversation seems light-hearted, simple banter and laughter shared between the knight and the townsfolk. No grandiose speeches, no talk of battle or glory. Just the simple joys of being alive, of finding camaraderie in the most unexpected places. It's a strange thing, isn't it? How these knights, who were meant to be the paragons of strength and valor, could find solace in such humble moments. It's almost as if they, too, were searching for something more, something beyond the clanging of swords and the call to arms. As the knight takes a drink from his mug, you find yourself wondering about his life. What is it like, really, to be a knight? To wear the weight of armor and expectation, to fight battles that most people only dream about, and then to come home, to sit in a tavern and laugh with strangers as though none of it ever happened. It's a life full of contradictions, isn't it? One moment you're a warrior, the next you're just another person in a crowd, sharing stories and ale with friends. And then, of course, there's the question of the hedgehog. Where is it now? Did it follow the knight into the tavern, curling up at his feet as he talked to the villagers? Or was it left behind, tucked away in the knight's quarters, waiting for him to return and pick it up again? Maybe, just maybe, the knight found a little piece of peace in the company of that tiny creature, even as he laughed and chatted with the townsfolk. Maybe the hedgehog was his constant reminder, his anchor in a world full of chaos. Historians still argue about the personal lives of knights. Were they all hardened warriors, focused solely on their duty? Or were they, in reality, just people like everyone else, with dreams and desires that had little to do with battlefields or banners? Maybe the hedgehog is the answer. Maybe it's not the big battles or the grand feats of heroism that make a knight. Maybe it's the quiet moments, the small companions, the tiny joys that give their lives meaning. As you stand there, hidden In the shadows, watching this knight find comfort in such an ordinary moment, you realize something. You've been so focused on the idea of the knight, the armor, the sword, the legend, that you've missed something deeper. The knight, for all his strength and status, is still just a person. A person who, like everyone else, seeks connection, seeks peace, seeks a little bit of joy in the quiet moments. And in a way, the hedgehog is a symbol of that. A tiny creature, small and unassuming, offering companionship in a world that is anything but small or simple. The knight finishes his drink and stands up, giving a nod to the group of villagers before heading off down the road, his footsteps echoing softly in the still night. The tavern door closes behind him, the warm light fading as the night wraps itself around the town once more. You follow at a distance, letting the silence settle in again, wondering what other moments of quiet humanity this medieval world might have to offer. The night seems to stretch on forever, each step you take feeling more deliberate than the last. The world is heavy with the quiet of the evening, the hum of the town now replaced by the soft rustle of wind in the trees. The lanterns along the road cast long shadows, their light faint and flickering like the last remnants of the days. Warmth slowly ebbing away, you pass by a small, unassuming house, just another one of many on this narrow street. There's no sign of activity, no flicker of light in the window, but as you glance up, something catches your eye. On the doorstep, a small wooden crate is placed carefully, almost as if it were meant to be there. You approach it quietly, curiosity pulling you closer. Inside the crate, nestled in a bed of straw, is the hedgehog. You're surprised, but then again, you shouldn't be. After all, the knight is known to keep it close, so why not leave it here for a while? The hedgehog is still, its small body curled into a tight ball, its tiny spines poking outward. It's a peaceful sight, one that speaks volumes about the nature of the bond between knight and animal. For a moment, you simply stand there, watching. The creature, its soft breathing, the only sound that fills the air. It's hard to believe that this tiny, spiny animal could have such an impact on the life of a knight. Yet there it is, sitting in the crate, a small companion in a world of great conflict. Historians, as you know, often focus on the grand narratives of the past, the wars, the kings, the conquests. But there's something about the quieter stories that feels more enduring. Stories like the one you're witnessing now, where a knight and a hedgehog share a moment of peace, far removed from the chaos of the world. You look around, taking in the sight of the town, now nearly asleep, the faint glow of moonlight casting everything in a soft, surreal light. The hedgehog, curled up in its crate, is a small island of calm in a world that is anything but calm. And somehow, in that simple act of rest, you feel connected to the past in a way that nothing else could offer. The history of knights and kingdoms may be grand, but it's the small, quiet moments that remain with you the longest dot as you walk away. Leaving the crate and the hedgehog behind, the sounds of the town seem to fade away. The night feels fuller now, as though you've just witnessed something sacred, something hidden in the quiet corners of history. And with that, you realize that even the smallest stories, the most unremarkable moments, are worth remembering. After all, it's the quietest parts of history that often leave the deepest marks. The streets are quieter now, almost eerily still. The moonlight cuts a pale path through the town, and the town itself seems to have softened like a blanket folded. Immediately after a long day, the wind whispers through the trees, rustling leaves that flutter like gentle whispers, and for a moment, you wonder if the entire world is taking a breath. The day's chaos has settled, leaving only the delicate hum of the night in its wake. Continue to walk, not sure where you're going, but feeling an almost magnetic pull toward the edge of town. The houses have become less frequent, the roads narrower, and the sounds of human activity have almost disappeared entirely. It's just you, the faint glow of the moon, and the soft rustling of the wind. The world feels smaller here, more contained. As if it's easier to hear the echoes of the past dot as you round a corner, you spot something, another knight. He's standing by a small stone well, his hands resting on the stone as he gazes down into the water. The faint reflection of the moon dances on the surface, sending ripples across his face. He looks lost in thought, distant, as if contemplating something far beyond the well in front of him. You stop, watching from a distance, wondering what is going through his mind. His armor glints softly in the moonlight, the reflection of the stars hanging above him. He looks like a figure from a distant dream, disconnected from the world around him, lost in the quiet of the night. The hedgehog is nowhere to be seen this time, and you can't help but wonder if it's resting elsewhere, or if this knight, like the others, simply finds solace in the silence that surrounds him. The water in the well is still, but as you watch, a gentle breeze causes ripples to spread across its surface. The knight's gaze never wavers, his face unreadable, his posture relaxed but firm. There's something about the way he stands, as though he's trying to find an answer in the reflection before him, something deeper than the surface of the water. You take a step closer, not wanting to disturb him, but drawn to his presence. Nonetheless, you can't help but wonder, what does it mean to be a knight? What does it mean to carry the weight of an entire kingdom's hopes and fears, and still, in moments like this, find peace in something as simple as a quiet night? It's a question that lingers in the air like the mist, thick and heavy. History has often portrayed knights as invincible, as larger-than-life figures who fought without hesitation, without fear. But here, standing alone by a well, this knight seems human, just like the rest of us. He's searching, perhaps, for something. In the water's reflection, something beyond the weight of his armor, beyond the responsibilities of his title. Historians still debate whether knights were ever truly as noble and virtuous as they were portrayed. The stories of valor and heroism are often punctuated by tales of betrayal, deceit, and internal struggle. But in this moment, there's no betrayal, no grand battle. There's just a man standing in the quiet of the night, finding his own version of peace. You wonder for a moment whether the knight finds comfort in these quiet moments, the ones that exist outside of battle and glory. Maybe it's the stillness of the night, or maybe it's the silence of the water before him, but in this peaceful scene, you can almost feel the weight of the centuries melting away. The knight finally shifts, taking one last glance at the water, before turning away and disappearing into the shadows of the night. His footsteps echo briefly in the stillness, fading as he walks further down the road. You remain where you are for a moment longer, letting the quiet wash over you, before continuing your own path. It's funny how you can walk through a town and only catch glimpses of the lives that once filled it. Knights, peasants, merchants, all living in the same world, all struggling with their own fears and hopes. It's the little moments, the quiet reflections that make history feel real. Not the grand battles or the political maneuvers, but the small, intimate scenes that show us the human side of those who lived in the past. And so you continue your walk, feeling a little lighter, a little closer to the past as you drift through the streets. The town may be asleep, but history, its stories, its moments, is still alive, lingering in the air, in the moonlight, and in the small, almost forgotten corners of the world. The cool night air is refreshing now, a light breeze that brushes against your face as you walk through the town. The sky is clear, the stars shining brightly above, casting their gentle light over the streets. The moon has sunk lower, a silver crescent hanging delicately in the sky, and the world seems to be holding its breath, waiting for something. What? Exactly, you're not sure, but there's a sense of anticipation in the air, as if the night itself is waiting for a story to unfold. You pass by the familiar stone houses, their windows dark, and find yourself back in the town center. It's empty now, the market square once again deserted. The only sounds are the distant calls of night creatures and the soft shuffle of your footsteps as you walk through the quiet streets. There's something both peaceful and unsettling about the emptiness, as though the world is asleep, but still. Aware dot the lanterns, flickering in the breeze, cast long shadows across the cobblestones, and you find yourself looking up at the familiar church steeple that rises above the town. It seems taller now, more imposing, as if it's watching over the town, guarding it while the rest of the world sleeps. You feel a pull toward it, the same way a child might feel drawn to a familiar place, something comforting, something timeless. Make your way toward the church, the path leading you past rows of dark houses and silent shops. The faint sound of a bell rings in the distance, a reminder of the passing hours, of time that moves whether we're awake to notice it or not. The church looms ahead, its large wooden doors closed but inviting. It's not grand or opulent, but there's a quiet beauty to it, simple, sturdy, and unyielding against the test of time dot as you stand before it. You feel as though you've come full circle, back to a place that's both familiar and strange. The night's journey, the hedgehog's companionship, the quiet moments shared in the shadows, they all seem to have led you here to this point in the night. And as you look up at the church's spire, you can't help but think that perhaps it's not just knights and hedgehogs that carry the weight of history. Perhaps it's the places, the quiet corners, the streets, the buildings that hold the stories of the past in their bones. The night is deep now, the stars twinkling like tiny, distant fires in the sky, and you feel a sense of calm wash over. You don't need to know all the answers, not tonight. The journey is enough. The quiet moments, the small stories are enough. And in the end, maybe that's all history really is, just a collection of moments, small and unremarkable, that together form the tapestry of time. You turn and begin to walk away from the church, your steps slow and steady, the night wrapping itself around you like a blanket. The town feels more like a memory now, a dream that you'll carry with you long after the night is over dot. As you walk through the quiet streets, you can't help but smile at the absurdity of it all. The nights, the hedgehogs, the small, forgotten corners of history. It's all so strange, so unexpected, but that's what makes it beautiful. And as you walk into the distance, the night seems to stretch on, carrying with it the stories of the past. Whispered softly on the breeze, you realize that, just like the knight and his hedgehog, you too are part of this strange, timeless story. And perhaps one day, someone will look back and remember this night. Just another moment in the quiet, enduring flow of history dot. The air has cooled significantly as you continue your solitary walk through the town. The moon has lowered further. In the sky, now a mere sliver of silver light, casting soft shadows across the land. It's a night of quiet reflection, the type of night that seems to stretch on forever, as though the world itself is hesitating, unsure whether to move forward or simply hold still a little longer. You can feel it in the air, the way the world holds its breath. The cobbled streets, once bustling with activity, are now empty, the silence almost oppressive but strangely comforting. The shadows grow longer as the houses on either side of you seem to close in, their darkened windows staring out like watchful eyes, guarding the memories of the lives that once filled them. The wind stirs the leaves in the trees again, but it's a gentler breeze now, the kind that carries with it a faint earthy scent. You can almost hear the sighs of the town itself, as though it's settling into sleep. You pass by the town's edge, the line where the open fields meet the shelter of the town's walls. Beyond this, there's nothing but rolling hills, stretching endlessly toward the horizon. It's a peaceful sight, but one that holds a sense of quiet isolation. In the distance, the outline of a lone figure appears, moving slowly along the edge of the fields. The figure is familiar another night. He walks alone, his armor reflecting the faint light of the dying moon. His movements are slow, measured, as though he is carrying something heavy not in weight, but in thought. You stop for a moment, watching the knight as he walks toward the edge of the fields. He's not rushing, not charging into battle or hastening to some grand cause. There's no urgency in his steps. Instead, it's as though he's simply walking for the sake of walking, moving through the night without a clear destination in mind. And for a moment you realize, perhaps that's what these knights were really after. Not the glory or the fame, but a quiet moment of peace away from the noise, away from the endless demands of duty. He stops by the edge of the field and looks out across the open land. The soft rustling of grass is the only sound, a peaceful contrast to the clamor of swords and shields that would normally define his life. You can almost hear the knight's thoughts, his quiet contemplation. Perhaps he's reflecting on the battles he's fought, the victories and the losses. Or maybe he's simply letting the stillness of the night fill him, letting the peace of the moment wash over him like a soft tide. You wonder, as you watch him from a distance, what it would be like to live a life like that. A life defined by both power and vulnerability, where every decision could have life or death consequences. But in these moments, these quiet, personal moments, there's no battle to be fought, no kingdom to defend. There's just the knight, standing alone in the field, with nothing but the night and the stars above him. And then, just as you begin to understand, the knight turns and walks back toward the town, the peaceful solitude of the field slipping away with each step. As he disappears from view, you're left with a sense of longing, a quiet yearning for those moments when everything slows down, when the world falls away and all that's left is the silence of the night. It's strange, isn't it? How the smallest moments can sometimes carry the most weight. How a knight, just a man like anyone else, can find peace in something as standing alone in a field under the stars. It makes you wonder how many knights throughout history sought the same solace, whether they found it in the arms of their families, in the quiet company of animals, or in these still, unremarkable moments alone. The night is nearly at its end now, the sky darkening into a deeper shade of blue as the stars shimmer overhead like distant diamonds. The town seems more like a memory. Now, its cobblestone streets and familiar landmarks fading into the background. The world feels larger somehow, more expansive, as though you've crossed over into a different time. A place where history is written not just in the battles and wars, but in the quiet moments that often go unnoticed. You find yourself walking at a slower pace now, taking in the rhythm of the night, feeling the stillness settle around you. There's no rush, no urgency to go anywhere. The world feels suspended, frozen in time, and for the first time you feel the full weight of the history you've been walking through. As you walk, you come to a familiar spot, the edge of the town, where the street ends and the fields begin. The cool night air brushes against your face as you pause, looking out over the darkened landscape. The horizon stretches before you, vast and unbroken, with only the soft curve of the earth to mark the distance. The moon has all but disappeared, now leaving only the stars to light your way. And then, as you stand there, you see him again, the knight. He's walking along the same path, his armor now faintly glowing in the dim light of the stars. This time, though, there's no hedgehog at his feet. It's just him alone in the stillness of the night. And for a moment, you realize that the absence of the hedgehog feels strangely significant. Perhaps it's not just the knight who needs the comfort of his pet. Perhaps, in a way, it was the hedgehog that needed him, too, providing a quiet, grounding presence in a world that was often too loud, too chaotic. As the night disappears into the night, you can't help but feel a sense of closure. The small, seemingly insignificant details, the hedgehog, the quiet walks, the peaceful moments of solitude have come together to form something larger, something more profound. It's a reminder that history is not just made up of grand gestures and monumental events. It's shaped by the small, intimate moments that often get lost in the noise. The knight and his hedgehog might not have been the heroes of a famous battle, but their story, their quiet companionship, speaks volumes about the nature of life itself. And as the night vanishes into the distance, you realize that, like the hedgehog, you've been part of this quiet journey. You've walked alongside history, not as an observer, but as a participant, moving through the same quiet moments, the same unspoken reflections, and in that, there's a kind of peace. A peace that exists outside the chaos of the world, in the stillness of the night, in the quiet companionship of a knight and his hedgehog. You turn to leave, the town fading behind you. The night seems to hold its breath, the stars twinkling above you, a reminder of the timelessness of the world you've just walked through. The night feels like it could stretch forever, a lingering, heavy stillness that fills the air and presses gently against your chest. The streets of the town behind you are but a distant memory now, and the world ahead is vast, open and quiet, as though it's waiting for something or someone to break its silence. Your footsteps are the only sound. As you walk, each step echoing softly in the otherwise peaceful night, the wind has slowed again, a gentle sigh that seems to carry the weight of the world with it. It stirs the grass at your feet, but it's a soft, unhurried breeze, not the usual rush of wind that forces things to move, but one that simply touches everything lightly, like an affectionate hand brushing against your cheek. Ahead, you see a familiar figure, a knight, but this time he's not alone. No, this time he's accompanied by a child. The child is small, walking beside him with a light, skipping step, and it's immediately clear that this isn't just any knight. This one is different. He seems lighter somehow, more relaxed, his once stiff posture now more fluid. The knight's expression is softer as well, his features no longer etched in the rigid lines of duty. There's a calmness to him now, something that speaks to the peace he's found in the quiet company of this young child. Dot, as you draw nearer, you notice the knight's hand resting lightly on the child's shoulder, a simple gesture of care and protection. The child is looking up at him with wide, curious eyes, clearly fascinated by everything around them, but there's also something else there, something deeper, perhaps. It's the same expression the knight wears, a subtle look of contemplation, as though this moment, this quiet walk through the night, has brought them both closer to something profound. It's strange, isn't it? How the very same knight who once walked alone in search of peace is now walking with a child, guiding them through the stillness of the night. Perhaps the hedgehog's absence was more significant than you thought. Maybe it wasn't just about the knight finding peace with himself, but about the knight learning to share that peace, to extend it to others. You watch for a while, unsure whether to approach, unsure what to say. But as you observe them walking together, you begin to understand something about the quiet strength of the knight. It wasn't the battles or the victories that defined him, nor was it the quiet moments of solitude with his hedgehog. It was these moments shared with another person, these simple walks through the night, these shared silences that made his life truly meaningful. Historians still argue over the true nature of knighthood, wondering whether knights were as noble as they were portrayed, or if they were, in reality, just men with their own struggles and insecurities. But as you watch the knight and the child, you realize something. Maybe knighthood isn't just about swords and armor. Maybe it's about the moments when you set down your weapon and share the quiet with someone else. The knight and the child continue on, their footsteps in sync, as if they've walked this path together many times before. The child's voice rises occasionally, laughing or speaking in soft, innocent tones, while the knight listens intently, his face softened by the gentle flicker of the lantern light. There is no urgency to their walk, no rushing to the next grand event. It's simply a walk one foot in front of the other, a quiet conversation, and the shared peace that comes from being in each other's company. You can't help but smile at the sight. It's a quiet joy, one that feels far more significant than any battle or conquest could ever be. The simple act of walking together, of sharing the stillness of the night, is a kind of victory in itself. As they pass, you find yourself following for a while, lost in the simplicity of it all. The town seems far behind now, almost forgotten, as you drift into the open fields. The moon has risen higher in the sky, casting its soft light over everything below, and the world seems to glow with a quiet, peaceful energy. It's a world that exists outside the chaos of history, a world that doesn't need to be defined by grand gestures or stories of glory. It's a world, instead, defined by these small, intimate moments of peace, companionship, and the quiet joy of simply being alive. The night has deepened even further, and the cool air is now sharp with the clarity of the hours past. The shadows stretch long across the grass, and the only sound now is the occasional murmur of the wind as it stirs the leaves in the trees. There's a stillness to everything, a kind of quiet that seems to envelop the world, holding it in a gentle embrace. As you walk alongside the knight and the child, the pace has slowed even further. They move through the open field now, the vast, empty expanse surrounding them. The grass sways in the breeze, whispering softly, and the moonlight casts a soft glow over everything. There is no sense of hurry, no destination, just the simple act of moving together, of sharing this quiet moment. It's a strange thing. You think how the knight, once so steeped in duty, now seems to be at peace. He walks without the weight of armor, without the expectation of battles ahead. For once, he is simply a man walking through the night with a child by his side. There's no grandeur in the moment, but there's a profound beauty in the simplicity of it. You think back to the hedgehog and the strange, small companion it was, how it served as a reminder to the night of peace, of solitude. And now, with the child at his side, perhaps the lesson of the hedgehog has shifted. It's no longer about solitude, but about connection, about sharing the quiet moments, the small joys, and the simple acts of care that make life meaningful. The knight's hand rests gently on the child's shoulder again, and you can see the love in the gesture. It's not a grand, heroic love, it's just the love of two people, walking through the night together. It's a love that's simple and pure, a love that doesn't need to be spoken, but only felt in the quiet moments shared between them. Historians, when they write about knights, often focus on the battles they fought and the lands they conquered. But perhaps the true measure of a knight is not in his victories, but in his capacity for quiet moments, like this moments when the armor comes off, when the sword is set aside and the knight can simply be. And maybe, just maybe, it's in these small, forgotten moments that the real stories of knighthood are found. As the knight and the child continue on, you feel a sense of peace wash over you. It's a strange feeling, this sense of connection to the past, to these small moments that have been lost to history. But perhaps that's what makes them so beautiful. These are the moments that endure, the ones that stay with you long after the grand battles have faded into memory. You walk on with them, letting the peace of the night settle into your bones, and for the first time, you realize something important. History isn't just about what's remembered. It's also about what's forgotten. And sometimes it's in those forgotten moments, the quiet, uncelebrated ones, that we find the truest sense of who we are. And with that, the night, the child, and the night continue, slipping quietly into the unfolding story of time. The night, now fully settled into its deepest hours, stretches endlessly before you, the landscape bathed in a soft, ethereal glow. The stars overhead are scattered like tiny pinpricks in the vast blackness of the sky, casting a gentle light that feels both distant and intimate. The air is cool but not biting, a steady, comforting chill that wraps around you like a cloak, urging you to walk slowly, thoughtfully. The knight and the child ahead of you continue their steady journey through the field, their figures small but resolute against the backdrop of the open night. The knight, once again, seems at ease, his armor less a symbol of his title and more a part of him, worn and weathered by time. The child, with a joyful bounce in their step, looks up at the knight from time to time as if seeking approval, or perhaps just companionship. As you approach them, you notice the silence between the two of them. It's not an uncomfortable silence. No, it's a silence filled with understanding. The kind that only comes from being deeply connected to another person. There's no need for words when the bond is this strong, when the shared experience of walking together is enough to communicate everything that needs to be said. For a moment, you wonder if this is the true heart of history, not the grand speeches or the legendary battles, but the quiet, understated moments that never make it into the history books. It's easy to romanticize the past, easy to envision knights as noble figures engaged in epic quests, but perhaps it's these quiet journeys through the night that offer us a truer glimpse of what life was really like. And as you walk with them, feeling the cool night air on your face, you begin to understand. These quiet moments were the ones that shaped the course of history, just as much as the battles and the politics. The bonds formed in the stillness of the night, the simple acts of walking side by side, sharing space and time, these are the moments that endure. The knight turns to the child now, offering a soft, almost imperceptible smile. It's a smile of reassurance, of affection, and for a moment, the entire world seems to slow down, as though even the stars above are holding their breath, watching this tender exchange. The child responds with a bright grin, their eyes sparkling with wonder, as if they've discovered something that words can't express. This moment, you realize, is just as important as any battle fought or any kingdom won. It's a moment of connection, of trust, and of peace, a moment that transcends the demands of history and speaks to the very core of what it means to be a human dot as they continue their walk. You find yourself reflecting on the past again. The hedgehog, the quiet companionship it shared with the knight, perhaps that was the first step in this journey toward understanding the importance of these small, intimate moments. The knight's quest for peace, his search for solace from the turmoil of the world, led him to a place of quiet connection with this child. And in that, there is a lesson. Historians may never know the full story of what was whispered between the knight and the child, or what thoughts passed through their minds as they walked under the night sky. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? The mystery, the knowledge that sometimes the most profound moments are those that exist just outside the reach of words. The field begins to widen, the edges of the town barely visible now in the distance. The moonlight has grown softer, more diffused, as though the night itself is slipping away, giving way to the first light of dawn. The knight and the child, still walking side by side, seem to be unaware of the time passing. It's a rare thing, this ability to be so fully present in the moment, but it's clear that both the knight and the child have found it, walking not toward any specific destination, but simply enjoying the journey. The ground beneath your feet has become softer now, the grass thicker, as if the land itself is welcoming this quiet, timeless procession. The air feels different too, fresher, with a hint of something new, something on the edge of the day's arrival. The first hints of morning are not yet visible on the horizon, but you can feel it in the air, a quiet promise of change, of renewal. The first time in a long while, you feel no need to rush. The world is moving at its own pace, a rhythm that has nothing to do with the ticking of clocks or the demands of the day. Here in this field, under the fading moonlight, the knight and the child are walking in harmony with the earth, the stars, and the night sky above. It's as though everything around you is moving in perfect synchrony, a moment of balance in the midst of a world that so often feels out of sync. The night stops. Finally, just at the edge of the field where the tall grass gives way to the open road, he turns toward the child, crouching down to their level, his hands resting on his knees. It's a simple gesture, one that speaks more of care and understanding than any grand speech could. The child looks up at him with wide eyes still filled with the wonder of the night, and the night speaks softly too quietly for you to hear. Whatever is said doesn't matter, not really. What matters is that it is said, that this moment, this quiet exchange, exists between them, and in the stillness of the night, it becomes as important as any battle fought, any legend told. As the night straightens up, the child looks toward the horizon. The first streaks of dawn begin to appear, soft and gentle, just a whisper of light on the edge of the earth. It's not yet full morning, but the world is already shifting. The town, the field, the night, the child, everything is on the cusp of something new, something fresh, and in that moment you feel it too. You pause for a moment, letting the scene wash over you, the quiet beauty of the night and the child, the stars above, the grass beneath your feet, and the first light of morning slowly pushing through the darkness. The world is waking up, but for just a little while longer. It belongs to the night. As the night and the child begin to walk again, the child's step a little lighter now, as if the weight of the night has somehow shifted. From them you follow. Their path is still unhurried, still gentle, and it leads away from the town, away from the confines of history's expectations, into the open expanse of the world that stretches before them. This is where the real story lies, you realize, not in the grand battles, the towering castles, or the sweeping changes of history, but in these quiet moments, the moments that are too often overlooked, too simple to be remembered. Yet these are the moments that shape us all, the ones that stay with us when everything else fades. And as the night, the child, and the morning light begin to fade into the distance, you feel a deep sense of gratitude for the journey, for the quiet, for the peace that exists when we let go of our need to control, to conquer. History may be written in the loud moments, but it is lived in the silent ones. The sky has softened into the delicate hues of early morning, now a gentle pink that blooms at the horizon, spreading outward like a watercolor painting. The night and the child continue to walk, their pace slow, the road beneath them stretching onward, uncertain but full of potential. There is a beauty in this quiet moment, a beauty that lies not in the promise of what's ahead, but in the simple fact of walking together, sharing this quiet before the world truly wakes. You follow them for a while, watching as the child's laughter breaks the stillness, echoing softly in the early morning air. The night's gaze shifts between the child and the world before them, a steady, thoughtful look, as though he too is absorbing the peace of the moment. The contrast is striking. This night, once so steeped in the weight of duty, now walking in the soft glow of dawn, surrounded by the quiet innocence of the child's joy. It's strange to think that a knight, a figure once bound by battle, by bloodshed, by honor, could find peace like this. But here he is, walking with a child beneath the rising sun, sharing a moment of pure, unspoken understanding. Perhaps this is what all knights, all heroes, were really searching for. Not glory, not fame, not the accolades of war, but peace. A peace that could be found not on the battlefield, but in the quiet moments that exist when the world is still waking up. As they walk, the knight's armor gleams softly in the early light, its once lustrous shine now dulled by years of use. It's a reminder of the weight he carries, the weight of his title, of his responsibilities, but also a reminder of how far he's come. It's a strange thing, isn't it? The way armor, once a symbol of strength, can also become a symbol of burdens. But as he walks beside the child, there is a lightness to him. The armor might still be there, but it no longer defines him. He's simply a man walking through the world, finding peace in the company of a child. It's a quiet moment, one that's easily overlooked, easily forgotten. Yet it's the sort of moment that lingers, that stays with you. In these small, simple exchanges, in the slow walk through the dawnlit fields, the true nature of history is revealed not in the roar of battles or the clashing of swords, but in the quiet moments that define the human experience, the road. Ahead continues to unfold, stretching out in front of them, yet it seems unimportant now. There's no destination to rush toward. The moment is the destination. The peace they share, the simple, unspoken bond between knight and child is the story. There's nothing more profound than this, nothing more enduring. You stop for a moment, watching as they move further into the morning light. The knight and the child, the world around them, and the soft rising sun. It's a scene that feels timeless. You can almost imagine this scene being repeated 1,000 times in 1,000 different places. A knight and a child walking side by side, finding meaning in the quiet moments, in the act of simply being. And with that, you begin to walk again, following at a distance. Their footsteps and your own merge with the silence of the morning, and for just a little while longer. The world belongs to the stillness. The sun has fully risen now, its light spreading across the fields in a warm golden wash. The knight and the child are almost silhouettes against the brightening sky, their figures soft by the gentle glow of morning. The air is warm, a soft breeze moving through the tall grass, and the world feels fresh, as if it has just woken up, shaking off the remnants of the night. You walk behind them, taking in the scene, the peacefulness of the moment, the simplicity of the journey. There is no rush now, no urgency. The day is unfolding at its own pace, just as the knight and the child are walking at their own. It's as though time itself has slowed, as if everything has aligned perfectly to create this quiet, intimate scene. And yet, as the world shifts from night to day, you realize that this moment of peace, of connection, won't last forever. The world will move on, as it always does. The knight and the child will eventually reach the end of this path, just as the morning will eventually give way to afternoon. But for now, they are here, in this moment, walking together. And that perhaps is enough. You slow your pace as they do until you're walking side by side with them. There's no need to speak. The quiet is enough. It's enough to feel the rhythm of the world around you, the peaceful pulse of the earth beneath your feet. It's enough to be in the company of others, to share this journey for as long as it lasts. And with that thought, you begin to slow your pace even further, letting the knight and the child move ahead. You watch them for a moment longer, then turn your gaze to the horizon. The world stretches out before you, wide and open, filled with the possibility of what comes next. But for now, you're content to simply be here. In this moment, as the sun climbs higher, you take a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the day beginning to settle in. You know the story doesn't end here, that the journey is far from over, but for now, there is peace, there is stillness, there is quiet, and for just a little while longer, you will carry this moment with you. And so, with one last look at the knight and the child, you begin to walk your own path, the quiet morning unfolding before you. You've walked through history, through battles, through quests, through small, unexpected moments, and in the end, it's these moments that define you. The quiet moments, the stillness of the night, the companionship of a hedgehog, a knight, a child, these are the moments that stay with you. And as the sun rises higher, you realize that this journey, though it may be coming to an end, is only just beginning. The day has fully broken now, and the warmth of the sun fills the air, chasing away the last remnants of the night. The world seems brighter somehow, more vivid. The knight and the child are still walking ahead of you, their figures now bathed in the golden light of morning. They are small against the vastness of the field that stretches around them, but there is something monumental in the simplicity of their journey. They don't need a destination to have meaning. The journey itself is enough. As you follow them, the sound of birds singing fills the air. It's a soft melodic chorus that seems to rise with the sun, a natural harmony that echoes in the wide open space. You take a deep breath, inhaling the scent of the fresh earth and the dew-covered grass, letting the peacefulness of the moment wash over you. The quiet of the morning is a balm, a gentle reminder of the things that matter most in life: connection, peace, simplicity. The knight's armor shines more brightly now, the dull sheen of the night giving way to a warm, reflective glow. The sunlight catches in the crevices of the metal, casting intricate patterns of light and shadow across the fields. He walks with a new sense of ease, as if the weight of his armor, his past, has lightened somehow. The child, too, seems lighter, their step more sprightly now that the night has passed. They are both moving through this world with a sense of peace that is rare, a peace that seems to come from within rather than from the external world. As they continue down the path, you can't help but think about how much has changed in this journey, how much they have both changed. The knight, once a figure of rigid duty, now walks in the light with a sense of freedom. The child, innocent and joyful, has found something deeper, perhaps a quiet understanding of the world around them. They are no longer just figures in a story. They are living, breathing people, sharing this moment together. And in this moment, they are both free. You continue walking alongside them, your steps becoming more and more in sync with theirs. There is no need for words. The bond between you all, however fleeting, is palpable. You're all part of this world, part of this journey, and for this moment, the world feels right. There's no division between past and present, between knight and child, between history and future. There's only now. Ahead, the path begins to widen. The grass gives way to a broad open space, a sweeping plain that seems to stretch on forever. The road curves off into the distance, and you can see the faint outline of a distant town just beginning to come into view. The knight and the child stop for a moment, gazing toward the horizon. The child looks up at the knight, their expression, one of wonder, of curiosity. It's a question unspoken but clear in their gaze. What comes next? The knight, after a moment, looks down at the child. His expression is calm, but there's a warmth in his eyes now, something soft and reassuring. He doesn't need to give an answer. His silence is enough. They will face whatever comes next together, side by side. For a brief moment, you consider stopping. The journey has been long, but you've learned something profound along the way. History, as it turns out, is not just about the grand sweeping moments. It's about the small, quiet ones, the ones that aren't recorded in books or remembered by the masses. The moments where people, like the knight and the child, find peace in each other's company and the stillness of the world around them, but you keep walking. You don't need to stop because the story isn't over. The journey isn't over. There is more to discover, more to experience. The road ahead may be uncertain, but it is filled with the possibility of what comes next. As the knight and the child begin walking again, you follow them once more, the path ahead wide open. The morning sun shines down on the world, and for the first time in what feels like forever, the world feels like it belongs to you. It is vast, it is infinite, and yet it is also simple. The journey, after all, is just the quiet unfolding of one moment after another, and in that, there's a kind of beauty. A beauty that will stay with you long after the journey ends, long after the night and the child have faded into the distance. The sun has climbed higher into the sky, casting its golden light across the open plain. The knight and the child are still walking ahead of you, their figures becoming more and more distant, but somehow still present in your mind. The land around you is expansive, the horizon stretching out infinitely, with nothing but open space between you and whatever comes next. The world feels vast, and yet, in the presence of the knight and the child, it feels intimate. It feels like there's a story unfolding just beneath the surface of this peaceful landscape, a story that is quiet and unassuming, yet full of meaning. You can almost feel the pulse of history beneath your feet, a reminder that everything, even the smallest moments, is part of something much larger. As you walk, the quiet stretches out before you, the landscape bathed in the warmth of the sun. There are no more distractions, no more battles, no more noise. It's just the sound of your footsteps, the rhythm of the world moving forward. The path ahead is clear, and as the knight and the child continue on, you feel a deep sense of connection to them, as if you too are part of this journey, part of this world that has been so beautifully woven together. And with that, you walk on, the day unfolding before you, the world full of possibility. There's nothing more to do but walk, nothing more to find but the quiet moments that are already there, waiting to be discovered. The knight and the child move further into the distance, their figures now small against the vastness of the world. But they are not gone. They are still here in the peace of this moment, and the simple joy of walking side by side. And perhaps in the end, it is these moments that matter most, the quiet moments, the ones that are forgotten by history, but remembered by those who led them. As you walk toward the horizon, you realize something. The story doesn't need to end here. The journey isn't over. The world continues, unfolding in ways you can't yet see. But for now, this moment, this walk, this quiet peace, it's enough. And with that thought, you walk on, knowing that the road ahead is as full of promise as the quiet moments that have already passed.